Welcome to the Sherpa's Guide for PvP. First thing we need to go over is basics of movement and how to deal with inertia. The simplest way to describe inertia is when your PMC tries to change directions, he will stall. The easiest example is to aim at a point on the wall, like the door handle, and when I move left to right, I will freeze at the end point. Easiest way to counter that is we just move in WASD fashion. And this will get rid of inertia. So always when peeking, we want to make sure we're never doing what I call hard stops, left to right. You want to be moving in WASD. The next thing is, most people don't realize this, is that your movement speed when you start sprinting is not at full speed. You will actually build up movement speed over time as you run. This takes up to 5 seconds to gather your full movement speed. This is affected by weight. The next thing I'd like to go over is accuracy when point firing. So if you do not have a laser or flashlight, you need to get one, because without one, your gun will be highly inaccurate. When you replace with a tactical device, you will see a significant spray control improvement. This is really important for point firing down long hallways, as well as I will go ahead and go over. Flashlights will give you the same accuracy boost, even if there's no laser activated. There's laser activated, but they still give you the same accuracy boost, regardless of whether it is a flashlight or laser or IR laser. One of the most important things to learn about PvP is the difference between your right versus left-hand peek. I know everybody preaches this, but I like to show exactly how big of a difference it is. So when you're peeking on the right side of your body, your gun is obviously on your right shoulder, as well as your right eye is able to see. So when you use slow lean, you can actually see your target right about here, and they'll be able to see this much of you. Well, if you peek on the left side, you have to wait for your shoulder still to make it around. So about now, he actually gains sight of my head, and right here, I can get sight of his head. You'll see how exposed I really am, though, to this guy, despite holding the tightest angle possible. The next bit of info gathering we're going to use is going to be a right-hand jitter peek. So what this is going to be is we're going to right-hand peek and go into cover. But what we're doing is we're trying to use WASD to get information on whether someone's down the hallway or not. So we would do that by... And then we see him and we're able to now to take a decision on whether we want to take the fight or not. The next way we can gather info is the reverse bunny hop. So the way to do this is you want to make sure you have your free look bound, and you're going to do a sprint jump. While in the air, you're going to let go of W and hold S and do a second bunny hop jump. Again, I would build up your movement speed for this. I would always build up movement speed for everything, but you can do it like this. I just show that a second time. And the final way we can gather info is the flashlight bait. So if you have a flashlight on your gun, you can use blind fire, which is Alt plus S, and try to bait out some shots. As well as you could do the gun bait, where you run like this and shake your gun around the corner to try to see if you can bait out shots. So the next thing we want to go over is getting information on left. So when you're peeking on left, you need to understand that your view comes out of your right eye, which means they will be able to see you when your left eye crosses the door frame, but you won't be able to see them until your right. So we want to minimize that by using our WASD. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in a lean at the end of the arch of the circle. So that way they can take a little bit longer to see us. So use WASD, lean, 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 lean. Now that we see them, we would be able to crouch, lean, pre-fire. Alright, so before we talked about the right-hand peek, we want to make sure that we're setting up right-hand peek properly. So, one of those things is we don't want to be too wide. We always want to be just exactly where we can be just to see the opponent. So this is pretty good. We can make it technically better by using slow lean and getting a tight angle on them. But then what we want to do is obviously we want to lean out, take a shot, and duck back into cover. We can actually, though, make this faster by doing a right-hand quick peek. So the way to do the right-hand quick peek is you lean out, unlean, and step in. If you're ever going to re-peek this, one, I would recommend changing your head height. We'll go into that further. But the other thing is you want to make sure that you don't lean out Otherwise, you will stall going back into that inertia topic. You want to make sure you lean out, shoot, lean in, step in. Then you want to pause. It doesn't have to be a long pause. The pause can be real short. But you want to make sure you give yourself that pause. So real quick, we're going to do a demonstration of a right-hand quick peek. And then hopefully your opponent's dead. And then we'll show their POV. First, we're going to show you this again in real time and then in slow motion. One other thing that's really important in PvP is changing your head height between peaks. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to build up my movement speed. I'm going to identify where my target's at. He's now seen my head here, so then I can jump across, and I'll change my head height and peek him from a different head height. And that'll force him to adjust to me. The next thing we want to learn is how to win on left. So the first thing we have to remember is because the view comes out of our right eye like we talked, we do not want to be slow. If you do this in an online raid, you will most likely die every single time you do it. If you ADS and slowly walk around here, they will see you first, and you will die. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to use that leftover momentum to do a swing. So we're going to build up our momentum, swing out into the middle of the hallway, and we're going to either point fire with our lasers or ADS, depending on their position. So we build up our movement speed. We swing. He's going to adjust his stance outwards, and then we can swing. And we can get our shots on target as they're out in the open. So one way to beat your opponent on a bait is to do a sprint bait. So what you're going to do is you're going to run to a wall, and then they are going to assume that you're pushing them. They will swing to get peeker's advantage, and then you kill them. The next kind of bait we can use is a heal bait. So what we can do is we can use the heal to bait people into pushing us. So what we do for that is we hit 4 or whatever you have your med binded to start the heal, and then you're going to cancel it. They'll hear the heal come out, and they will push you. These are some of the basic tips I recommend any player learning if they're looking to get into PvP. But it doesn't mean they're all the tips. Coming here soon, we'll be releasing an advanced PvP guide that goes over some complex movements that'll help you dominate your fights even when you're at a complete disadvantage. So make sure you stick around and subscribe for more.